On me. I wait on
I'm
you.
waiting.
Hey,
I'm waiting
there
on
we
you.
go.
I've been trying to get started, and you just won't start the show. I'm like, come on, Josh, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Good morning, mediums. Welcome to another episode of Live here on Keystroke Medium. It's season 3, episode 11. Yudhanjaya Wijeratne, I think I said it right, will be joining us soon. I'm going to read his intro off of Amazon. He's having some technical difficulties getting logged on this morning, so hopefully he joins us here shortly. Wijeratne, it's Yudhanjaya Wijeratne, is a big data researcher and former journalist. He's run news operations, designed games, and fallen off cliffs. Most of those things by accident. But he's best known in his native Sri Lanka for sparking political commentary under the Icarus Wept moniker. He counts William Gibson, Margaret Atwood, and Terry Pratchett as his inspiration and is generally found trying to make his cat do something useful with his life. He just got picked up by HarperCollins India for his Commonwealth Empire trilogy, and so hopefully when he comes on we'll be talking a lot about that. And everybody else that's in the live chat, welcome. Good morning. If you're watching live, this episode starts off a twofer for a Monday.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have
be epic.
Drew Avery on after the show at 12:30. Is it Central Daylight now? Because it was Central Standard, but I think now it's Central Daylight. Is that right?
I call it Central Scott time.
Yeah, Central Scott time. So in an hour and a half, we'll have Drew on the show. That should be a good one. While we're waiting for Yudhanjaya to show up, Scott, why don't you talk a little bit about what you got going on this week, man?
Well, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm doing some edits for Mr. Richard Fox, the one and only fabulous Terran Strike Marine series we're working on. I know you have a book that's launching any moment.
Any moment. It's actually a surprise.
It's actually a surprise. I'm sorry. Never mind. I forget I brought it up and stuff. And I'd like to clarify for our show listeners that actually I was, yes, in fact, the one holding up the show with the launch. And I thought I would try to blame it on Josh at the last second. Like,
it's your fault.
What like that. So, do you have your coffee cup?
Nope. The only one I have is this one.
Okay. I've been arguing, lobbying for like hours to start a new segment or show called "Show Me Your Coffee Cup."
Show me your.
I couldn't read that with your coffee cup.
Hold on. This coffee tastes like you should shut up until I finish, and I've got 2 of those, so I can double fist it, and then people will actually get the picture.
Can you read mine? I can't see what I'm doing there.
Oh, the Kansas Underground Salt Museum, which
I've mentioned before. That's where the original Star Wars movies are stored. If you ever been down there, it's super creepy. It's super creepy. We did a whole day of training down there, 600 feet below ground, and the guide is like, "Yeah, don't go over here. That was a collapse last week," and we don't. That's encouraging. I'm like, we're 600 feet underground, covered with salt mines, and you shouldn't ever tell me the collapse is possible. Because
scariest environment imaginable. That's all you had to say.
Not good.
It's the scariest environment imaginable.
So, all right. So,
well, I wanted to say too that we've got a super secret project that we just started this morning.
How super secret? Like not secret at all?
I mean, it's super secret. It's not as super secret as we'd like it to be super secret, but it is secret. So maybe not super, just secret. We are looking at putting together a nonfiction what have we learned on the show, and if everything works out right, that should be done sometime before at
least, right?
20 books to Vegas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 20 books to Vegas.
We have one of our most awesome and loyal show participants is going to help us with it.
Indeed.
She'll probably do most of the hard work, and we'll just sit around and drink our coffee out of our fancy cups.
That's right.
Do big shots. No, I'm really excited because we opened up the shared document today, and we put in a few ideas, and I had to pull myself back. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what we need to talk about. We need to cover that. Oh, this would be good. I wish I would have known that when I started, and so on. And so
for those of you that don't know, Scott doesn't like starting new projects.
That's a lie. That's a filthy lie.
He says, "Oh, new project."
I started 4 of them yesterday.
Yeah. So you mentioned I'm going to have a new release. So
yeah, let's talk about that.
Bloodlines 2 or Terra Nova 2 Bloodlines is coming out on the 22nd. That book, it's actually been kind of a different process for them than the first one. The first one, I had about a 15,000 word outline and wrote about 63,000 words. And this book, I had a 5,000 word outline, and Richard sent me the total number. It was like 79,000 words. So I don't know what happened somewhere along the lines. My fingers got crazy. But I'll tell you a great story. One of my friends here in town, she likes reading, and her son likes reading. But they don't read ebooks. So I happen to have a print copy of Terra Nova and got with them a couple days ago and gave her son the book. And he started reading it on the way home, and she was basically videotaping him while he was reading. And she sent me like a little 10-second clip of him reading, and he was so excited about it. Like the kind of reaction like you'd picture like when you pick up a Star Wars book and you read it for the first time and like, oh, this is really cool. I remember when I was a kid doing that. And then this dude's doing it over my book. And I thought that was really neat and very, very cool. And kind of inspired me to keep going. That's like the reaction you want to get when somebody reads your book, but especially when it's a kid who's just really, really excited about reading. And he's read several John Grisham books, and he was really excited about mine, so that made me feel a lot better, or really good.
Yeah.
And the second book has something over 600 pre-orders so far. So I'm really excited to see how it does. It's we're not doing as big as a publishing push as we did on the first one with newsletter swaps and whatever, but I think it'll do really well. I'm excited to see what it does.
Yep. It's interesting. Josh and I have these long conversations because, talking about writing and stuff, but we both have a lot of, of our writing interests, but we also share a collaborator on different projects. And so we can talk about, okay, so when Richard says this in his outline, what do you do with this? How do you handle that? What do you think? And what do you think of this idea? So it's been pretty cool to kind of like a side collaboration to compare notes and things like that. So
yeah, and I finished who was the one John Bear Ross shared a link in the group a couple weeks, maybe a week ago, about Bane's adventure fantasy competition, and I've always wanted to write fantasy, so I started a short story that is basically it takes place in the fantasy world that I want to write, that I probably won't get to write until like 2019 or something. But it was fun to just take a break from everything else that I'm writing. My Galaxy's Edge contract, that's almost good. It's almost done. I've got about 15,000 words left to write in that novel, and it should be finished. And then I can jump back into Terra Nova book 3. But it was kind of nice to take a break. And then this week has been all NCAA tournament, riding bikes downtown and getting extremely sore and not sleeping very well. And so instead of fretting about not getting a couple thousand words done a day on my Galaxy's Edge novel, I was able to just kind of sit down and play around with this fantasy idea and kind of shift genres a little bit. It's fun to shift genres and write in a different style than I have been for the last year.
I think it's good for you. I think that it helps. It's kind of like use a workout analogy. If you do nothing but run marathons, sometimes you need to go swim or lift weights or something, and it opens you up. It makes you come back fresh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I thought it was a great break from the other books, and I still have some ideas that I'm putting into the other books that I'm just kind of jotting down now. But writing about a new magic system and swords and a sword fight and misty demons and all that stuff is kind of a cool change from writing aliens and spaceship battles. Yeah. But we'll see if it makes a transition. It could be complete crap.
So it's always good. You gotta flex your writing muscles. So while we wait and try to contact Yudhanjaya, see, I said it sort of. I thought we're all proud of ourselves for Yudhanjaya Wijeratne.
Yes.
Dave Chesson, I guess, told us how to pronounce his last name last time. Got us on the right track. So, but while we're trying to get him onto the show and make that connection, if anybody has any ideas they want to put in the chat for things you'd like to hear us talk about, because otherwise Josh and I are just going to go off the rails and say crazy things, which could be fun.
Wait a minute, whoever goes off the rails, first of all?
We usually start like about 5 minutes before the show is off the rail time.
So Lauren was talking about, I think she's talking about the 2017 winner of the Bane competition, I think, in the live chat, asking if anybody had read it. I remember looking through the previous lists of winners, but I don't remember who it was. I'm going to go back and see if I can find it really quick on our Facebook group. If you guys don't know, also, we're doing covers for a cure this at the end of the month. If you are interested in getting on that as a bidder, send us an email at keystroke.medium@gmail.com and let us know you want to be a bidder. Last year, how many bidders we have last year? We had like eight bidders, I think.
I thought we had a 12 or something, but
we just had higher. We had, what did we do? 3 covers last year and then an editing package, and had a pretty good turnout. A lot of good interaction with the bidders and also on the show itself. And this year do we have a preview of the covers? Yes, we do. JR, we do have a preview.
Making a screen share. So let me, if you want to work on that, let me talk about that. Something that's interesting about the covers for a cure, because something I've noticed is that covers for a cure 1 continue to get traffic all year round, like on our Facebook pages and on the website. And so if you have if you've 1, it's for a good cause, 2, you get an awesome cover, and 3, we leave it up there, and everybody that comes up around our show eventually goes over and takes a look at it. So I'm not saying it's going to like give you enough exposure to like launch into the best-selling stratosphere, but people do notice. The one, they love the great book covers. We got great ones this year. They're so awesome. I wish I could just buy them for myself and cancel the event. It's like, nope, they're all mine.
Apparently it didn't like the link that I put in there.
Which one?
I just put one in the live chat. I don't think let's see if it likes this one.
Maybe it likes mine.
Anyway, for some reason it's not liking my link. If you go to keystroke.medium.com and then scroll down to the covers for a cure tab, click on that, it'll take you to the covers for a cure page, and there's the things that we're actually going to be auctioning off are on that site. There's a 2 of the higher tier covers. There's a kind of a lower tier cover, and then there's an ebook only. The 3 higher tier ones are basically wraparound images if you wanted to do a paperback. One of them is actually reversible, and he can reverse it, and you can have either one image on the front or one image on the back, or flip it. The ebook was kind of a bonus. He wanted to do an extra cover, and then also his editor that edits the Universe and Flames series, she is going to do what Ellen Campbell did for the
first
one, and do a editing package as well. So I have 5 things to auction off this year. And I really think it's going to be a good time. It goes to the Diabetes Association. My mom has diabetes. Scott's oldest son has diabetes, and hopefully we can keep this going. If we can get enough support for it and keep it going, I think it can
JR wants to know how to sign up as bidders.
Yeah, so send an email to keystroke.medium@gmail.com, and then just in the subject line, do covers for a cure bidder. And that will get you into the bidding group. And there's going to be, basically how it worked last time is the bidding group is a secret group on Facebook that is completely separate from the show. And then when I put up one of the covers to auction off, the bidders will be able to bid in the Facebook group, and I'll be able to see, and then the winner will
And the
obviously win.
Live show's a blast too.
Live show is a blast.
We really need to get the word out there. We also need to really be getting the word out there about the Keystroke Medium Awards, Reader's Choice Awards.
Absolutely.
We don't pump that a lot because it's our own stuff. We don't usually pump our stuff a ton. But that is we're not eligible for that. And sadly, because we could have been contenders.
We could have been contenders, man.
But I just really want that to be something that draws a lot of readers and people are excited about, and that people feel proud to have gotten that award. And we're going to grow it every year and stuff like that. So
also, if you're going to 20 books, I think it opened. Did the registration open today? Somebody was saying
it's supposed to open today. I saw the alert on my email.
If you haven't got the registration or you still want to go, the registration for 20 Books to Vegas 2018 is open. Better be quick. There's only 650, 600 spots available,
and it will sell out.
We're going to be presenting the winners.
Who's all going? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're good. I'm going. I know you're going.
I'm looking at our chat box. If people, I don't know if they want us to say they're going or not, but there's several people in our live chat that are going. We met some people from some of our viewers last year, and that was probably one of the coolest things that's ever happened in my life, is to show up and people
hey, Lauren said she did. Kayleen said she signed up. JR said we're if there's enough interest, we're probably going to have either a KSM breakfast or dinner or something, whatever you guys want to do, just to hang out with us as a community, and because we get to hang out with you guys virtually, but it'll be fun to hang out with everybody in person, and
it's cool.
It eat really all the bacon and eggs.
Yep. Well, that's why we'll have a bacon eating contest, and I will win. I guarantee.
And there's quite a few restaurants there at Samstown, but we can also go somewhere else. Doesn't matter to me.
I have some ideas for show topics today if we want to talk about those. Obviously, people jump in, and like I said, if we had Wijeratne here, we would be going over kind of, what his writing in his books and his new deal with Tor, which is a big deal. But since we're
I thought it was HarperCollins. It's HarperCollins.
Yeah. Oh, somebody else. Yeah, HarperCollins. Okay. Whatever.
If I said Tor, that was my fault.
Okay. We see. I have this dream of writing for Tor that I always had since I was a kid. I sent a book off, and I believe it wasn't Tor. I think it was either Tor or what's the other one? Del Rey, that I had sent books off to, and it's my 7-year rejection story, where I got the final rejection like 5 years after the second, kind of like, hey, we're kind of interested, we'll let you know, and then I gave up on it. And then like 7 years after I submitted, they're like, hey, thank you very much, keep up the good work. We're not going to take it, of course, but and I found that as very two pivotal moments in my writing as an adult. Was that one made me want to go, I'm going to keep going. And then when Josh introduced me to Write, Publish, Repeat by the
self-publishing
podcast people, those gave me huge shots in the arm to keep going. Everybody here knows, I'm sure, that it's not easy to do this, even as a hobby. It demands a lot, and it's very time intensive. You got to love it, So
I like to say a kind of a shout out to our community on Facebook that I don't normally do a whole lot, because I have yet to see a post where somebody has posted something for either criticism or opinions or asking for help, and no one has responded. I think it's amazing that people join the group, no matter how long they've been in the group. They put up posts for whatever. Hey, I've got a question about this, or I need your opinion about that. And everybody in the community seems to be extremely helpful and willing to help. And I want to thank you guys straight up for that, because that's kind of why Scott and I set this up to help each other and help others. And it's cool to see people getting involved and getting on the Facebook group, which is if you search Keystroke Medium in Facebook, you'll find it if you aren't on there already. So thanks, guys.
I really love the group It's good. It's big enough that we have lots of engagement and people doing cool stuff, but it's not so big where we have like drive-by complainers or people that kind of just drop into a Facebook board and just start going crazy on whatever their thing is, and then
Right.
and then and then you have to have moderators. We don't have to do a lot of moderating. I see the people handling some of the other big Facebook writing groups, and they have to like kick out like thousands of people a month because they get so much traffic.
Right.
People that are like shamelessly self-promoting or just spamming everybody.
Actually, we haven't had that at all.
We haven't at all because we got good people.
That's right. And I've got the band hammer. I'll bring it out. I ain't scared.
Boom, bam,
boom. So let's see. What were the topics that you thought you wanted to talk
about? I wouldn't mind talking about, and this is, I'll just throw this out there. We can all vote on it. Everybody vote. If you don't vote in the chat, then I'll be mad. No, I'm kidding. I would like to talk about the difference between goals and process. Now, we've talked about goals, but I am somebody, as Josh mentioned earlier, who starts about 10 projects a day. And I can't start a project. I'll have thoughts like, well, I'm walking the dog. That'll be something like, if I wrote 5,000 words a day, how would that change my life? And then I'm set on, so I invested like 3.5 seconds into thinking that. And now I'm committed to it. And I will be unhappy if I don't get the 5,000 words every day. They're like, well, I like watching MMA. I should learn how to cage fight. Everything. If it's right. if you show it to me, I'm probably going to want to do it. You're like, hey, you know what? Line dancing is pretty cool. I can't dance. I want to learn how to be a line dancer. I'm gonna go take dancing lessons, or whatever. But
you could do gorilla wrestling. That'd be fun.
Gorilla wrestling would be really fun up until
he broke your neck.
I died. It'd be kind of a one-time thing.
It'd be a one-time.
Everybody go right now and look up the goose chasing a gorilla. That happened in Wichita, where the geese landed in the gorilla habitat and like chased the gorillas around. It was hilarious. It was pretty good time. So, hey, thanks, Hank. I appreciate it too. Hank Garner says he's got too many ideas, not enough time.
You're big time when Hank posts on your show.
Oh, I love it, man. We're getting stalked by the best. So what's the difference between goals and process? And I really think process is the winner. So I like to watch a lot of CrossFit, and there's a couple of people on there. My wife and I watch Brooke Ants. It cracks me up because she lets me watch Brooke, but my celebrity crush. But if you watch, she'll have bad days, or other athletes that have these horrible things happen. But the thing is they have this ridiculous process where they put in so much work, and they do the work every day, and they get to like a competition, and it's just like another day of work. It's just like, if like writing was a competition and you had to write a excellent chapter one day to win the competition. Well, if you're just writing a chapter every day, you come to game time and it's just another day, and you just keep motoring through. And my argument is that goals kind of set you up for failure, and they can be a trap, whereas a process is almost bulletproof. If you're doing the right process for you, you got it tailored to you, you're doing the right process, and you keep doing it every day, then you're going to succeed. You almost can't not succeed if your process is right. So that's my idea. If we want to talk about that.
Yeah. So like, if my goal is to publish 5 novels this year, then my process would be writing 1,000 words a day or whatnot. Right.
So you can take a goal and break it down into a process. And the process will serve you regardless of what your goal is, kind of.
I changed my goals halfway through last year when we started talking about these collaborations, and I started thinking about what could be done in my writing life. I made a whole bunch of goals, and that was the number one was that I wanted to be a full-time author by the end of this year, which is technically possible still. But I've changed my goal, and it's been extremely liberating. And this is the reason why. When my original goal was to be a full-time author by the end of 2018, my brain was on a constant slamming out of words a day under a fake timeline that I needed to get the words done by the end of the year and have all these projects done by the end of the year. So when I reached my 10-year retirement date on my day job, I could just go bam, retire, move on and do full-time writing. And as I started to process this and think about it, it's still reasonable, but another goal that is much more attainable is um, working on these projects, but not at such a breakneck speed, because my day job isn't going anywhere. Time. I'm not on a stopwatch. I'm not on a timer where if I run out of time this year, it's all going to go away. I'll still have my day job. Yeah. And I still have income coming in. And so I can kind of break down what I want to do this year into more manageable chunks. And like, for instance, do this little fantasy project that I wanted to play with, because I have the time now where I can mess around with that. And it also gives me a lot less stress on the back end, because now we're into the 3rd month and I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, I only have 9 more months left before I become a full-time author. And that's not true. I want to become a full-time author. That's my end goal, but the goal for 2018 is no longer to do that. And that has changed my process a little bit. And I think has taken out a lot of the stress in producing as much as I would have needed to otherwise.
I think what you're talking about there too is you have a goal, but your goal changes, but your goals just can't be wishy-washy. So when we set goals, because I'm not saying get rid of goals altogether,
right?
But so when you set a goal, how firm should that goal be?
Right.
I mean, because sometimes you need to set a goals like I will do this much or die trying.
Yep.
Because otherwise you're not going to get it. Like, I think that people can write. The big thing now is you see on Facebook, I wrote a book in a day. I wrote 5 books this year. I'm publishing every week, which works, but it's not the only way to do things. And some people still have really good success writing 4 books a year, 2 books a year, and things like that. And so, you want to have the right goal for you and for your situation. And when you set these goals that are other people's goals, they can quickly become kind of self-destructive, in my opinion. I think being a victim of I use my imagination to set my goals. We're all imaginative people here. We have big imaginations, and then he's like, well, why would I daydream about writing 1 book when I could daydream about writing 50 books or whatever?
Right.
So I think the goal, what you're saying is you had a goal, which is a great goal because it does push you, but you've modified it, and that's okay.
Well, you think too about how you want to be a writer. Like some people they want to be a sci-fi writer, or some people want to be a romance writer, or some people want to be a fantasy writer. And I don't really want to write fantasy romance, but I do want to write fantasy. And one of the guests we had on was it Ben Hale, who he writes for 6 months out of the year, and then the other 6 months he releases the 3 books that he wrote the previous 6 months. So he's
I think that sounds familiar to what his process is.
Don't quote me on that, but I think it's been
something like that.
And that kind of got me started on thinking about what I wanted to do as a career. And I didn't thinking about long term and thinking about, yes, I do want to write fantasy. You want to come up with a process that will facilitate that. Like, what did we talk about a couple shows ago when we figure out our fans are going to, or our readers are going to expect certain things as a timeline, on a timeline that we establish, right? So if we establish that we're publishing a book every 90 days, if we don't have that book out every 90 days, the readers are going to be like, where's your book at? But if we establish we're doing a book every 6 months, then the readers are going to be like, okay, they'll expect a book every 6 months, or 1 a year, or whatever your expectation is, or whatever you want to do as your time goes on. And so for me, changing my goal to from not being a full-time writer in 2018, but pushing that back a couple of years, that gives me time to work on the projects that I want to work on and not screw with any reader expectations. Right. So now I can write the Terra Nova series and kind of play around with this fantasy series. And then still write sci-fi, but maybe every 6 months or every 8 months or whatever, put out a epic fantasy novel, and then continue to write sci-fi, and then 6 months later do another epic fantasy novel. So you can give kind of your readers a little bit of an expectation on what you're going to be doing, and not choosing not to go full time this year gave me a little bit of freedom to mess with that.
I think that going full time is a big goal for a lot of people. I know it is for me. But having a job that you don't mind, that you feel is somewhat valuable, either to yourself or your family, the community, can be a strength for writing. Because so let's say that you are living on the street in Los Angeles or something, and you're trying to be an actor. You're going to take any acting job somebody gives you, because if you don't, you're going to starve to death.
Right.
But if you're like, I can take it or leave it, because I don't need this for the money a lot, then I can follow my creative instincts a little bit more. And if I decide I don't want to write to market, or I don't want to write 10 books a year, I don't have to do that, because I actually have a plan.
Right.
And that might go in, there's other ways you can do that. Like, I think it was Ben or somebody told us to live modestly, or maybe I read that someplace, that one of the first things you should do if you want to be a full-time or a professional writer is you need to learn to live within your means.
Yep.
And you need to be very, like, I'd like to buy stuff, and I like nice things. But I've really decided to be picky about what I buy. I used to just buy a lot more stuff, and now if I buy something, it's something I really want. I don't buy things on a whim anymore. Because this fits on my credit card. I think I should use a mountain bike. Do you like mountain biking? I don't know if I do. Maybe I do. I should have this and find out. So that's one thing.
Let's pause for the book of the week, or the sponsor. I get that from writing excuses. I know. Let's pause for the book of the week. Brandon, do you have a book for us? And I would say yes. But the sponsor for this episode is my book, because I'm the host, and I can do that. So this week's, it's good to be the king. That's right. Bloodlines is going to be the sponsor for this episode, and that is the second book in the Terra Nova series. I'm going to post the link in the live chat. I don't know if it'll hold up. If it doesn't, I apologize, and I'll link it somewhere else so you can get it, or you can just search for it on Amazon. This is the second book in the Terra Nova series, Bloodlines. The blurb is as follows. Terra Nova broke free from the Ultari tyrants, but the colony's struggle to survive has just begun. Governor Ken Hale and his expedition brought technology to the Canis Major galaxy that will change the balance of power forever, and the Ultari will stop at nothing to take it for themselves. The colony needs allies, and with no other options, Hale sends Chief Kit Carson on a first contact mission that will either shield their vulnerable world or invite its swift destruction. This fast-paced sequel to Terra Nova takes readers on an action-packed thrill ride of discovery, mystery, and strange new worlds. And as Richard said, if you think you know what's going on in Terra Nova, think again. That's Bloodlines, book 2. It's on pre-order right now. You can go and pre-order it for $2.99, and it will go on sale March 22nd, which is what day is that? Is that Thursday? I don't know what day that is.
It's coming right up.
It's Thursday. This week, Thursday.
I think that can we talk about the audiobooks for that?
Yes, we can.
Because those two, the Terra Nova and Bloodlines, as I understand it correctly, from being a relative outsider to that series, are going to have an awesome book narrator.
Yeah, so we have Luke Daniels set up to do the audiobook narration as soon as. Well, actually, he might have already sent it to Podium. But we're doing a 2-book deal for audio, so you'll get Terra Nova and Bloodlines in the same volume, and Luke Daniels will be narrating both. And if you guys have a minute or want to know more about Luke Daniels, we actually had a show with him back in season 2.
Great show.
And it was a fantastic show. He's hilarious, very generous, nice guy, and he has narrated all of Richard Fox's Ember Wars. Ember War, the Armor Corps, and the original 9 Ember War books.
Too, by Marco Clues.
Oh yeah, and the Terms of Enlistment series by Marco Clues. Fantastic narrator, and if you listen to audiobooks like Scott and I do, you'll find your narrators that you really, really enjoy listening to, and you'll just buy the books because that person read it. I listen to Michael Kramer a lot, and he reads epic fantasy by Brandon Sanderson. And so I picked up this, it's a translation of a French epic fantasy novel, and it's a really good book, but I just picked it up because Michael Kramer was reading it. I have no idea who the author is. So I do the same thing with Luke Daniels. And so it's really exciting to me personally to have one of my favorite audiobook narrators read the book. And so I can't wait for that to come out.
I'm so excited for you. I can't really stand it. That's like a dream come true thing. I want to get to Hank's question here and then some other things here. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about My Little Pony Mill sci-fi stories or not, but I'm not going to take it off the table because
it's not completely off the table yet.
Because maybe we could have a spin-off podcast called Bronies.
Yes.
Bronies. Whatever that is. So, but yeah, that's really impressive. I'm excited to hear that. I can't wait for him to get done with that. So Hank Garner says, I have a question for both of you. You are each writing and publishing books in multiple series at the same time. How do you juggle, and do you worry about not publishing soon enough? That's Hank's question.
Do you want to take that first? You want me to?
Yeah, I can take that. So I'll talk about some of my experiences here. So as we've been talking about our collaborative writing quite a bit lately, those have been some huge opportunities. But what I've started to notice is that like I'm starting to get some pretty good read through on KU in my Starship Marine Corps series, and not a lot, but a nice steady little trickle every day. But the series isn't done, and I started thinking about that, and it's been a while since book 2 came out, and I put everything aside to write on what I felt were bigger opportunities and things like that. With Craig Martell and Richard Fox, and I am extremely thankful to have those opportunities. And because maybe I'll get some Luke Daniels action in one of those is what I'm.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That is awesome. So, but I'm also somebody who creates multiple projects at once. So I was showing some of our writing buddies on our messenger my projects, and I think they just think I'm crazy. I mean, I literally probably have,
and rightfully so,
my current spreadsheet has it has at least 7 or 8 books that I want to write, and that's just the ones I feel like I need to finish before I can start writing the other ones that I started and really wanted to write, that I really am in love with the ideas of them. And I created a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet tells me how many words I need to write per day to make it this year, and it automatically populates today's date and automatically calculates how many words left. And I've simplified it a little bit. It doesn't sound like it, but I really have. So now I should have one screen. I look at it every day, and I don't have my phone because I loaned it to one of my children. But I have right now I have to write about 5,300 words a day to even think about finishing all my projects. So it's really easy to get sidetracked. So what I do is I set a priority. I have obligations to Craig and Richard. And then my next obligation, I think, is to a pen name project that I'm going to abandon because it's not really selling and it's not really my thing, but it's on pre-order. So I have to finish it or else Amazon will hate me. And then after that, I have to finish my own series that people have started to read, and then on to my passion projects. So basically it's a matter of prioritizing and writing. Kind of circles back around to our goal thing, because I have some unrealistic goals and I torture myself. So Josh, what do you feel about these multiple series things?
So it's a great question, and I've thought about that a lot this year.
Oh, I forgot Nick Cole and Jason Onspach. I'm also have an obligation to them too. So
right. And so 2016 was all about writing short stories for me. I wrote a little bit on my own projects, but it was mostly all writing short stories. And then in 2017, right in the beginning of 2017, I finished a short story and then finished my 3rd book in the Second Star series that I have. And then basically have put off the 4th book in that series indefinitely while I do these other writing projects that are actually paying money, because Second Star doesn't pay me very much money. But
I know the feeling.
It is, but it is a fun project. So hopefully I do get back to it sometime soon. But specifically talking about the Terra Nova series and the Galaxy's Edge series the novel that I'm writing. While I'm writing one, I'm always thinking about both. But starting this year and in late last year, I decided that while I'm writing a project, I'm only going to write on that project at a time. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop planning the other ones. So, for instance, while I was writing book 2 of Terra Nova Bloodlines, I was getting ideas and doing kind of plotting my Galaxy's Edge novel, which right now is called Strikers War, just for the sake of conversation, so I don't have to keep saying Galaxy's Edge. So I was writing Bloodlines and then planning parts of Strikers War. And so now that Bloodlines is done, I'm taking a break between Terra Nova 2 and Terra Nova 3 and writing Strikers War. And of course, I've got this little fantasy short story that I'm messing with too, just for this week, and then I'll be back on to Strikers War. But while I'm writing Strikers War, I'm thinking of ideas and plot points for Terra Nova 3, which right now is called Redemption's Shadow. Don't know if we're going to keep that either, but right now that's the title. And so I don't have a hard time jumping between projects because my mind's kind of weird where I can keep most of the stories in my head at the same time. And I think that comes from reading multiple novels at the same time. I don't know if any of you guys have this quirk, but like I can read, say, 5 or 6 different novels at the same time or listen to them on audio or whatever, and I can jump back and forth and immediately know where I'm in the story and immediately remember all the characters and elements and everything that's come with it. And that's just me. I learn a lot by audio cues. So jumping between stories while reading has never been an issue for me. And it's kind of the same thing while writing. The only reason I like to stick to one writing project at a time is because I think that if I jump between writing the projects, that neither project will get to where I need it to go. If I write a chapter in Redemption's Shadow and then write a chapter in Strikers War,
it makes it feel like forever before you get some closure in a completed project.
Right. And sometimes it takes me like for instance, when I went from finishing Bloodlines to Strikers War, it took me 2 or 3 days to get back into the flow of what was going on. I remember everything about it and I remember the characters and know that, but it still takes me a couple days of transition time where I'm writing a little slower and going a little not as smooth as I would be if I had just been writing on the project. So that's my process, if you will, to accomplish my goals this year.
I think. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say when I finish Strikers War, which should be in another 2 or 3 weeks, probably, I'll get that sent off. Then I've got to work through some more notes on Terra Nova 3, and then I'll be working on that one until that's finished.
Looks like we got our next guest showing up.
Drew
for the next show.
Drew Avery's going to get warmed up and
get loosed up. So I got a couple of things on what you're saying made me think of. Think people are like, well, you can't do more than one at a time. Well, so how many people just answered? I guess raise your hands because I can't see you. How many people have been reading a book, gone to see a movie, and maybe watch a television series or 2 on their own? So readers and writers can track multiple stories. We do it all the time, and then plus all the narrative of your lives. But writing it, like Josh pointed out, there's some efficiency issues, and that's where you get dragged down because you got to figure out where you left off. You got to make sure, you're on track. Logan Scott asked about, do the stories accidentally merge as well? I don't really find that to be too much of a problem for me. What about you, Josh?
No, I don't find that. I don't find that as an issue. The only time I kind of have and it's not really even a problem. It's just kind of an interesting thing that happens is both of the projects are obviously military science fiction. One is more military than the other. So Strikers War is more military. It's more hardcore military than Terra Nova. So I have to constantly think about which one am I writing, because one of them takes a lot more hard-nosed approach to military ops, where you're using code names and tactics, and there's a very real chain of command and different things that are going on. And then the other one is kind of loose, and it's not as military strict, and it's more of a no, I don't even want to say Firefly feel, because it's not, but it's more of a story with military people in it, rather than a story about military operations and different things. So, right. So I just have to remember which one I'm writing in, so that I don't get the narrative styles mixed up. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
That makes sense. I used to worry about that. As a matter of fact, when I first started writing really seriously, I didn't read books while I wrote. I would read novels and books, but when I was writing, I only wrote. And I did that for a number of years, and I quickly realized I was never going to be able to keep up on either thing if I mixed that up, if I separated those two.
You know, I've been doing a lot of jumping back and forth between podcasting and audiobooks, and I finished Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson a couple of months ago, and that book, that book blew me away so much that I have not been able to get into another audiobook. And so I've been listening to podcasts almost exclusively for a few months, and Legionnaire came out on audiobook. RC Bray wrote it. Would it come out 2 weeks ago, something like that, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Legionnaire?
Yeah, so I was listening to that, and that is actually re-listening to that book has given me a lot of ideas for Strikers War too, just because I've picked up on a little bit more things in the novel that I didn't get when I read it the first time, and so
it's so weird because I read that book in like a day and a half.
Yeah.
We were on the 20 books trip, and you saw me reading that on the plane. It was crazy. I don't read that fast or that consistently, and when I listen to it now, I feel like I've heard it before, but I haven't heard it before because RC Bray is so awesome. I'm like, well, this is what he sounded like the last time I didn't listen to it in my imagination.
So if you haven't listened to it, Legionnaire is really good. The story is really good, and RC Bray does a really good job narrating it.
Great book. Love it.
I'll be if I could get RC Bray to read Strikers War, now that would be, I'd be okay with that. I would not complain about that at all.
Yeah.
RC, if you are listening, because you listen to this show,
probably does a lot. I bet you.
I mean, honestly, who doesn't? Raise your hand if you don't listen to the show. See, nobody raised their hand, so we're good
right now. Not raising their hands.
Let's see. I thought I saw another comment up here. Let me scroll up and see.
There's several in there that we could be talking about. Including
Vicky made a really good comment about being rich and famous is her long-term goal, and her short-term goal is making enough money to pay utility bills as a writer. And I think that's a really good point to make now that we're talking about trying to go full-time or not going full-time, or making the decision to do whichever one you want. So I made a decision this year that I'm not going to go full-time. However, I did make enough money in December that I paid off a credit card. And so that was very cool for me. And being able to go and you take your paycheck, which from Amazon, for me, I usually get, $50 or $60 or $70 every 30 days or whatever it is from my Second Star series. Cause I don't have a lot of read through on that series, and it's whatever. I like the books. I'm not really concerned about it, right. But
you haven't pushed them at all either.
The other projects, like my short story collections that I'm in, and then Terra Nova and all them, they bring in other revenue streams as well. And being able to pay off that bill was very, very neat. And it's kind of it makes this whole thing like, oh yeah, it works now. And next month I'll be able to pay off another one, and then maybe the next month I'll be able to pay my cell phone bill or whatever. And that's what King said in his on writing books. If you make enough money to pay your electric bill, then you're an author. And so I think I can finally say that I'm an author now. But it's I like the fact that I think all of us that write books want to be rich and famous, but I think in our group and probably a lot of indie writers kind of realize that being rich and famous is not the end all be all of writing. I'd be writing whether or not I paid off a credit card or not.
Can you
But it
imagine
is
how
neat.
annoying it would be to be famous all the
Oh,
time?
super annoying. I wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Right.
but give me your autograph.
And
Okay, come here.
Or like the paparazzi. What
Oh
would you
yeah.
do with the pop? We should have a whole. That'd be
Whatever.
awesome.
I'm my own paparazzi. I walk around
I'm
with
my
my
own.
cell phone, taking
Yeah.
pictures of myself, and then I yell at myself for taking pictures. Like, get away.
Yeah, it's all a setup and whatnot. Well, and that's the thing is, I want what I've always wanted. To me, is you need to make enough money to have freedom, and you need to be able to make money to do the things you want, that make you a complete person, that make you be able to spend time with the people you care about, and that's all that matters. Is that $100 a month or $100,000 a month? What does it take to live your dreams and stuff? And I think that one of the things we're put here on this earth to do is make those decisions. You can't, because I made the mistake when I was growing up. In my generation, it was like you can be anything you want to be. Well, I didn't listen carefully, apparently, because when they said you can be anything you want to be, I assumed you could be everything you want to be. And there's just not enough hours in the day. So I will try anything almost. But my quality of life has improved dramatically the last few years by making choices. Like, I'm going to write and do my job and my family. I'm not going to be on the SWAT team anymore, or try to get promoted a whole bunch of times, or try to buy a new car, all that stuff. Those are all secondary things.
Yep.
You got to focus. The more focus you have, the happier you're going to be, my opinion.
And
if you write some brony military sci-fi My Little Pony stuff, that would also make you happy. I'm just throwing it out.
JR, if you ever write the brony sci-fi military, I'll read it. I'll even make it a sponsor of the show.
I'll wear a t-shirt. You send me a brony t-shirt, JR Hanley My Little Pony t-shirt. I will wear that to 20 books.
Oh, speaking of t-shirts, should we do a giveaway on the next show?
We should.
I say that and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm right here right now." No, come for the next one. We'll do a t-shirt giveaway. Haha.
Well, I'm really sad we didn't get Wijeratne on the show today.
Yeah, we'll have to figure
out what it is. He is, he's in Sri Lanka. There's a lot of stuff going on there right now, and he's a long ways away, and the time difference is brutal. And so we will try again.
We will definitely get him on the show. Let me look at the schedule here, because we have a really packed lineup over the next few weeks. Drew Avery's coming on next, and then on the 26th we have Justin Sloan. The 31st we have covers for Cure 2. Bidders, please email us here in the next week or so we can get you on the list.
Tell people about the award show.
Yes.
Nominate people.
And nominate people for the KSM Awards. There's you can go to our website, keystroke.medium.com, go to the awards tab, and you can go straight to the nomination form. There's a whole bunch of rules. You don't need to read them. It's all self-explanatory. You can't vote for us.
Can't vote for us.
We have the final say.
Which is hence why you can't vote for us.
That's right.
This is kind of weird. How come they keep winning every year?
Every year they win.
These guys dominate that award show.
I'm just gonna secretly create my own award just because I can and present it to myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys have written
best new award show award,
if you guys can nominate your own book, you can have your readers nominate your books. If you've read a good book that's not Scott or mine's or Ralph's or Chuck's, then nominate it. Go in there, drop a nomination in. It's free.
What are our categories right now?
All you have to do is leave your email address. We have best science fiction novel, best military science fiction, best apocalyptic fiction, best fantasy, best epic fantasy, best urban fantasy, best horror, best anthology, best cover design, and best audiobook. Great categories. I think
just put the My Little Ponies in any one of those. It's
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fit in a lot of those.
You can vote for me. Yes, vote for Drew Avery if his book is nominated, or he nominates his own book. You have to do it between July 1st, 2017 and June 30th, 2018. That's the time period of books that are eligible for nomination. We had to pick a date, and so we just picked those dates, and then we will present at 20 Books to Vegas. Laura asked about the sci-fi novellas, and we thought about doing sci-fi short stories and sci-fi novellas. And we may,
expansion,
if we get enough feedback and we get enough participation in the first year. This is kind of a test. If it doesn't get enough traction and we don't get a lot of response, which we're getting a fair amount now. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We wanted to try something to kind of get back to the indie community and create an award
if we don't get enough traction, we need to just change the rules next year, vote for ourselves, and just
yeah, everybody can vote for my book
next year. No, we're changing it next year because
yeah,
myself on the back award,
right. So yeah, nominate if you read a book last year. It doesn't have to be indie published, it can be traditional as well. Click on that nomination form and fill out your nominations.
Right now Drew Avera is the one to beat, so he's taking a strong lead in the polls. So
don't let Drew win. That should be a hashtag. Don't let Drew win. Resist. Just kidding. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up this show, and we may start a little early. We may start a little earlier than 12:30, depending on when we get this wrapped up and get Drew on board to start the next one. I will post the links to the next show. If you're watching live, it'll be in Facebook. If you're listening on the feed, you can just click on the next one. It's that easy. And we'll continue with Drew Avery here in about, we'll say 10 minutes and get it started. So you guys ever in the live chat, thanks for hanging out with us on the first hour. You better come back for the second hour, or else dun 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 dun, and we will talk to you then. So come back. We're going to talk about some more reading, we're going to talk about some more writing, and of course everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium. Have a fantastic Monday.
See ya.